Veterans were home from the war and making babies, whether they had a place to live or not. Nearly 3.5 million babies were born in 1946, a 20% jump in the birth rate in 1 year. And the babies had a Pied Piper, a prominent New York pediatrician, Benjamin Spock. While in the Navy, Dr. Spock had written Baby and Child Care, a runaway bestseller in the fall of '46.
The first sentence in the book is, trust yourself, you know more than you think you do. And then it goes on to say, don't be overawed by the experts and don't be intimidated by your relatives. The editor who came to me about writing the book said, it doesn't have to be very good, he said, because at 25 cents a copy, which was what the price was in 1946, we can sell, he said, 10,000 a year. Well, he was thinking of 10,000, and it turned out to be $750,000.
To illustrate his instructions, Spock chose one of the leading baby artists and illustrators of the day, Dorothea Fox, herself the mother of an infant.
Those illustrations that I did for Dr. Spock were the first and only ones that I did without using a pencil, without drawing them carefully first. I just was so full of the idea, the way Dr. Spock had explained it to me, that I just sat down and did them. One of the reasons I did that was because I didn't think it was a very important job. It turns out to be almost the most important thing I did and I've done in my life.
Spock was a hero to Anne Maxfield.
It was our Bible. And if someone else didn't have one and somebody had a particular ailment, then you would go home and look it up in Dr. Spock's book, and then they would get Dr. Spock's book, too. It was really wonderful.
As a pediatrician in practice, I was impressed with how much anxiety there is in the beginning parent. I saw on a few occasions mothers burst into tears as they left the hospital.
Before Spock, many doctors treated babies like little adults and parents like dummies.
When we went to the baby doctor, we got a sheaf of typewritten schedules, the hour, the time that we should do something for our baby. And I didn't do it very well anyway, but I was always a little guilty about not doing it very well, you know, thinking I'm not raising this baby right. Instead of what Dr. Spock says is you have instincts. You know more than you think you do.
For several years, I worried very much whether some parent might not tell me that though I had the best of intentions, I had brought about injury or had even killed their child. And it was one of the comforts as the years went by that nobody accused me of having killed their baby.
And what will they name the baby? By 1946, ethnic favorites such as Rosie and Sarah and Samuel were gone, leaving Susan, Carol, James, and Joseph, and William, usually known as just plain Bill, an ordinary guy. The most common boy name? Robert. The most common girl name? Well, a little inaccuracy right here would save a world of explanation. But little inaccuracies are for amateurs, so I'll try to explain. See, it was my intention to have a bit of good, clean fun with all those clean, white bread names. Who knew the most popular girl name would turn out to be Linda? Linda. Personally, I'd prefer Rosie or Bill. Come back to the autumn of 1946 and give 'em hell, Harry.
Our World will be right back. Period of adjustment, fall 1946.
Buttermilk sky.
Our World will be right back.
What's the good word tonight? Are you gonna be mellow tonight? Oh, buttermilk sky.
Welcome back to the autumn of 1946. Something we like to call the American way of life has been altered forever by a war that was fought to preserve it. And a country which came together in order to defeat the enemy outside must hold together still or risk winning the war only to lose the peace. What it is a national attitude adjustment hour only longer.
The executions at Nuremberg were big news in this country that fall, but they were also, in a way, old news. We were having a hard time getting adjusted to peacetime, but we had a lot of fun trying. Before there was a jet set, there was cafe society. Same people. But now, plenty of plain Janes and ordinary Joes could rub elbows with the mighty. Cash in their pockets, no war to worry about, no guilt. Live, love, and get happy. At the Stork Club, singer, actress, and socialite Bene Venuta.
And I wore one pair of shoes all during the war, one pair of Dorsey black leather shoes. They were so awful by the time I could throw them away. And in those days, the music was live, and you danced, and it was romantic. There was a lot of romance, and it was a gentler time, softer. You could walk down Fifth Avenue, and you saw people beautifully dressed, not everybody, but most of the people. Ladies wore gloves and hats, no blue jeans. The only blue jeans you would see would be on a ranch or maybe on a farm.
Women had tasted independence during the war, Rosie the Riveter and all that. The taste did not linger. The post-war woman returned to the pre-war feminine ideal, as in the hit song from the Broadway show, Annie Get Your Gun.
The girl that I marry will have to be as soft and as pink as a nursery. The girl...
Housewife and homemaker were still proud words in the fall of '46. Johnny came marching home again and went back to work. And Rosie the Riveter, well, she got married and took her proper place on the end of a vacuum cleaner. And if you could find a place to live, this period of adjustment wasn't so bad. Or was it?
The war brought inflation, then price controls, then came peace. Some prices stayed controlled. Some shortages got worse, but inflation came back too. And the buck, what was left of it, did indeed stop at the president's desk. Clark Clifford, a presidential advisor, watched Truman juggle which prices would stay controlled.
Truman had a rather cute little puckish sense of humor. And one day, he noticed as he went through the list, that particular day, the Office of Price Control had released controls on Hawaiian sleigh bells. If you can imagine anything more ridiculous than Hawaiian sleigh bells. So he sat down and wrote a little note to Paul Porter, who was head of OPA, said, "Dear Paul, it's decisions like this that will bring us out on top."
The same cannot be said concerning meat. In June, price controls were lifted, prices soared. In August, price controls were shipping their cows to market. Meat began to disappear from the market, except for the black market, even bigger now than during the war. Harry Oppenheimer was a butcher, and butchers were good people to know.
The butchers, they were the kings. You had your steady trade. The meat was put in a bag. There was no questions asked how much. People were satisfied to get their meat, and they didn't ask what it was, how much it was. They just got a bag of meat with their name on, and they walk out. And if they should ask too many questions, next time there wouldn't be any meat for them. It's as simple as that.
But meatless voters were opposition voters, and so...
During these last weeks, I have considered many proposed remedies in an effort to find the proper solution of this meat problem. There is only one remedy left. That is to lift controls on meat.
Bingo! The cows came back, but not all at once. There was still a scarcity, but you could more often than not get red meat now. All you needed was money. Retail prices went up 20 to 100%. Grin and buy it, or squawk and eat chicken.
Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union.